Hey everybody, welcome back to Extreme Weather Zone. In this video, we'll be looking at the massive tornado outbreak that could be about to happen tomorrow. A big severe weather outbreak, possibly a tornado outbreak this weekend across the central US. But first, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe for more severe weather updates. So this is the SPC's outlook for tomorrow. This is a moderate risk. They've issued a pretty big moderate risk. They could even technically fit a high risk in here across Kansas and Oklahoma. And this is a tornado outbreak that's expected. But this is actually a multi-day severe weather outbreak. Because right now, today, we actually have kind of some storms in a line that goes all the way from down in Texas. You have some storms firing up, but all the way up into the Midwest, there's kind of thunderstorms there. And the SPC has two enhanced risks, one for kind of a part of northern Texas and southeastern Oklahoma, and another risk for kind of Illinois and Missouri, and a bigger slight risk around that, and that's for a 5% chance of tornadoes, a small 30% chance of strong winds, and also a big hail outlook, possibly some large hail over 2 inches in diameter. That's very large hail, especially across northern Texas, even in central Texas, and southeastern Oklahoma, southwestern Missouri, and most of Arkansas, in that potential for very large hail. And then this is the big day, the biggest risk event. It's a moderate risk of 4 out of 5. They could even, technically they might be able to upgrade this to a high risk. I don't know if they will, but this is pretty bad because the SPC actually mentioned the potential for violent tornadoes, strong to violent tornadoes in Oklahoma and Kansas. And this is a 15% chance of significant tornadoes. So this is the potential for strong to intense tornadoes across even all the way from far northern Texas, across most of Oklahoma and kind of southern Kansas, and also severe wind that's going to happen too later on as this goes through. There's a 45% chance of some significant wind gusts over hurricane force, and also very large hail, of course. And then this continues as those storms push eastward. On Sunday, you have an enhanced risk. This, we'll see what happens with this, but you have an enhanced risk for eastern Missouri, most of Illinois, southern Indiana, and also part of Kentucky. And this one is a 30% significant chance of severe weather. And then on Monday, I guess that'll be Memorial Day, so Memorial Day weekend, severe weather outbreak. But on Monday, the SPC doesn't have anything, but I do think there could actually be still some severe storms across the East Coast. And so then this is the CSU model. It shows actually a 10% chance, or actually almost a 15% chance of tornadoes, and then hail and some hail and strong winds kind of over Illinois. So there's that. But then, oddly enough, tomorrow they don't show anything. Like, they really don't show much for tornadoes or hail or wind. So that's different. And then day 3, they have, a huge outlook there. 65% chance of significant severe weather in that same kind of area. And then it does show a widespread kind of area with potential for severe storms going on Monday and also Tuesday possibly. And then it looks like the Tornado Alley might light up again. But the biggest day is going to be, this weekend, especially tomorrow, looks like the biggest day. And you kind of have this trough moving towards that Kansas and Oklahoma area, and that's going to generate the severe storms. And you have this low kind of over the Midwest, and that's kind of generating the severe storms there today. But But you see this right here? This is kind of moving in towards that Kansas and Oklahoma area, pushing in, and you have this trough, and then out ahead of that is where you're going to have that severe weather potential. So you see the 500 millibar winds are pretty strong over this area, over 75 miles an hour over the area, and then this pushes eastward throughout tomorrow night, Saturday night, and then going into Sunday. You have this continues going, and then this trough even looks like it might be even more negatively tilted, and you have kind of multiple shortwave kind of troughing events that happen within that pattern, but definitely it does keep pushing eastward, and this one trough is there, but then you have this secondary kind of amount of energy that could trigger some more storms going into Sunday evening, and then that just pushes through. So that's kind of what it looks like, in the upper levels. But what's gonna happen tomorrow, Saturday, is what looks very bad. But nothing happens until like throughout the day. The HRRR model is showing nothing. Storms do form, but it's later, so you have nothing happening all the way up till like 6 p.m. or 5 to 6 p.m. Central Time. But then all of a sudden you have extremely rapid development of supercells. The dry line really triggers this. As soon as that happens, you have explosive development of storms in central Oklahoma on the HRRR, and this really explodes. And then later on, you start getting the bowing out kind of thunderstorms in Kansas that will produce some really strong winds, and that pushes eastward through like Missouri and Illinois, and that continues the severe weather into Sunday. The NAM model is actually showing kind of the same thing, nothing happening really until you get past like 6 p.m. or so, but the storms actually look smaller on the NAM model, but these storms are going to be intense either way. But then those bowing out thunderstorms start happening. You get these linear storms that will produce some very strong winds, and that goes overnight, and you will have the potential for tornadoes in that as well. And then that just pushes eastward into the Sunday severe weather event. And this is just the HRRR, a zoomed in kind of look at Oklahoma. It shows, this is north of Oklahoma City. You have some really intense supercells that could produce some violent tornadoes will be possible in that whole area, as that's what it's looking like. And this could be a really bad thing. And this is the updraft helicity tracks from the HRRR. It's bad. It's like there's definitely the potential for violent tornadoes across Oklahoma. This could, somewhere in this area of Oklahoma and Kansas, if any storm that forms will be able to intensify extremely quickly into a violent supercell. And this also pushes into Missouri, where you could have some tornadoes mixed in with a line of storms. And so that's also going to be a significant event. And you also have those intense winds. You could have wind gusts anywhere from 75 to even 80, 85 miles an hour, and that pushes forward on Sunday. But also the NAM model is showing some violent tornadoes in Kansas. This is the updraft helicity, which it doesn't show where a tornado will happen. It's just showing where they think that there's very intense rotating updrafts, and this is showing over that whole kind of southern Kansas area, which is deep in that moderate risk. And also western Oklahoma, you have some very intense updraft helicity tracks, and so this whole area is definitely going to see some very intense storms, tomorrow evening. And this is the instability. You have the Cape is intense. It's like over 5 to 6,000 joules, and there is some convective inhibition, some capping, but not enough. I don't think this will be enough to stop storms from forming. Even further on as you go into the evening, it's still not that. The convective inhibition is strong in some places, but there's still an area where you could definitely see some extreme storms. And this is the kind of the STP. It surges up, like, especially in Oklahoma on the HRRR, and the NAM will probably be similar, but it is kind of clipped, so you can't really see it. But I don't know why it does that, but it's definitely up there, really, really high, because you even have STP up to a 19. That's crazy. Really, anything over 1, you can have tornadoes, but 19? That's crazy. It's like, yeah, if there's storms in this area, you're gonna have violent tornadoes. Anywhere in there, that the SPC talking about violent tornadoes, that's bad. So yeah, and this is very intense. And also the supercell composite, I don't think I've not seen supercell composite go this high up to on this model. A 35 to almost a 40 in some areas, even over 42 in some of these localized extreme areas. This is very terrifying for if you're in this kind of area. Definitely you have to be paying attention to weather alerts, especially tomorrow, because this is really bad. And then this pushes off towards into Missouri and Illinois. That's with still these extreme supercell composite values. And also the moisture is going to be intense, because you have this huge dry line. You have on one side dew points in the single digits, and on the other side dew points in the mid to upper 70s. And this is going through Oklahoma. You have dew points at one point, dew points in the mid 70s, even 71, and then on the other side it's like in the 30s, and then it goes off down into the single digits. It's like, yeah, this is an intense dry line right there. And here are some soundings. This is the NAM 3 kilometer showing a PDS tornado sounding within 100% chance of a tornado, and the Cape is intense. And look at the EHI. This is also extreme. Anything over a 4, you can get violent tornadoes. This is 10 to 16. That's crazy. It's like, and the just all of these different indices are intense. And then based on SCP, a 59% chance of an EF2 plus tornado, and the STP is off of the chart. It's like, yeah, this is really bad. And the downdraft Cape is 1500, so you're gonna have some intense downdraft winds, some destructive downburst winds with this too. So definitely, both a strong wind event, a hail event, and a violent tornado event is possible. And this is kind of another sounding. They're showing as it even turns into a line, you still have the chance for tornadoes, a 50% chance of tornadoes and a 97% chance of significant hail. And still you can still get tornadoes in a line of storms, and this could be an overnight event too. And this is definitely going to be a nighttime tornado event, which is even worse than the regular ones. And still, PDS tornado soundings, the Cape is just intense. That's crazy. It's like, that's some extreme instability, and the EHI is just, it's like, that's really bad. And then this is another sounding. These are HRRR soundings, all the way up to a 17 effective inflow EHI, and the SRH is a 641. That's crazy. This is, just ridiculously favorable for violent tornadoes. And, the SPC specifying we are expecting violent tornadoes, this is a very, very, very bad severe weather event. Here's a look at the low-level jet during this, and this is extreme. Yeah, everything is there. Atmospheric conditions are everything's there for a violent tornado outbreak. This is intense. You have 55 knots, and then this intensifies all the way up to 70 knots. That would be 80 miles an hour. That's extreme for a low-level jet stream, and this continues. This pushes eastward all through the night, so you could still have tornadoes, but this is like a nighttime tornado event. This is definitely going to be really bad, and it doesn't even stop once you go into the daytime on Sunday, as it pushes further eastward. So this is just going to be a very bad thing. But violent tornadoes expected in Kansas and Oklahoma tomorrow, Saturday, especially Saturday evening through overnight. This is going to be a very, very bad event, so you need to definitely be paying attention to weather alerts if you're in those areas. And then, as these storms kind of push eastward into Missouri, you have this kind of bowed out, kind of linear convective system, and then that actually fades out. By the time you go into Sunday, kind of towards the afternoon, late morning, early afternoon, that kind of goes away, and then you have some more storms forming behind that, and then once you get into Sunday evening, more bowing storms, and you actually have a mixture of discrete storms, and you have bowing storms, and even more storms just all over the place in this area. So this is a mess. It's like this whole area is going to see severe weather throughout the day, and it might kind of diminish in the early to mid-afternoon, but then it ramps up again as you go through the evening, and even into the overnight, and this pushes through. This is still going 1 a.m. on Monday, and then these are updraft felicity tracks there. You have these tracks in Missouri, and then as this goes through, you have shorter tracks. This could be definitely, you could have more tornadoes in this area, and hail and wind, just a mess of a mixture of different things, but probably tornadoes in this area too, and that just continues for a while. So this is another big day of severe weather, and this is what happens. You have some extreme supercell composite values across Illinois and Indiana, so this whole area definitely could be another big event. It's less than it was, or it's less than it's going to be on tomorrow, but you have even up to a 20 in some areas. So this is another intense event before it does kind of tone down, but it's still pretty high even on Sunday night. And significant tornado parameter is less, but in some areas it does still get pretty high. Like you have it approaching a 10 in some of these areas again. You could definitely have some very bad things happening even down there. I don't know if storms will be in that area at that time. Probably some will be. So you could still have tornadoes at night in Missouri. This is definitely a big event. This is intense, and this is kind of what it looks like. Even the dew points are in the mid-70s across Illinois and Indiana. This is surging up very far north. A lot of moisture for these storms to use, and the Cape is also pretty high too. You have still that 4,000 to 5,000 in this is kind of an arc, Along this, you can have some really powerful storms, especially in this whole area, especially over Illinois and Indiana is where, that the biggest chance of those severe storms is. And then these are soundings showing tornadoes on Sunday, and this is like a 67% chance of a tornado. and an 89% chance of significant hail, and you do have a decent chance of having a a tornado based on the STP and the soundings. Definitely looking pretty intense with that, and so you could still have some significant storms with the potential for tornadoes on Sunday. This continues even later in the afternoon. And then after those storms go through, there's also the potential for a pretty decent amount of severe weather, possibly on Monday afternoon or Monday evening across kind of North Carolina, Virginia, that whole area, kind of the mid-Atlantic. You can have also maybe a tornado event. This is the STP, and it's showing possibly in Northern Virginia and kind of a 7 of an STP, so that's a decent amount. And this is just kind of what the NAM is showing, linear thunderstorms, and then this is kind of where it looks like you might see some rotation, so kind of more supercellular type of storm, and then also linear storms behind that across the South, anywhere from actually Ohio all the way down through like Tennessee, Kentucky, even into the Southeast. Some of those storms do push through on Monday night, and so that's something to look at. And this is a PDS tornado sounding over, I guess, Northern Virginia. This is showing a 71% chance of a tornado, and that STP is pretty extreme. And you have also, that extreme amount of CAPE, that extreme instability. So that's something interesting. In the wind, there's a lot of turning with the wind. So that could, I think the severe weather could continue on Monday before it probably tones down, because this is kind of what the Euro model shows with this. It shows that you have a low pressure system with this, so this is kind of where it starts in Kansas and Oklahoma, and then it pushes eastward, and you have a pretty intense low, so you couldn't get tornadoes even overnight. And then that pushes further north, but then still have the potential for right here some severe thunderstorms, possibly a few tornadoes, something over there. And then the severe weather kind of goes away, but then it might come back slightly across Oklahoma and Texas on Tuesday evening. So that is a possibility, but generally a lower amount of severe weather than what's been happening, over the past few weeks. It's like, yeah, and it might tone down. Hopefully, fortunately, it might tone down for a few days especially across the central U.S., because the pattern does change with more ridging over the western U.S., which could actually shut down the severe weather for a while. But we go from the severe weather to hurricanes, because there's not any hurricanes going to affect the U.S. anytime soon yet, but this is the first disturbance kind of the Atlantic hurricane season's already here. This is only a 10% chance of development, but it's just showing that, yeah, the hurricane season officially starts in only like a week. And so we'll have the severe weather, and then we have to look at hurricane season. So, but definitely a big tornado outbreak that's expected tomorrow and possibly Sunday and Monday across the central U.S. before it moves eastward. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching this video. Please be sure to give it a like, share the video, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications for more severe weather updates. Extreme Weather Zone,